What's up guys, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and this is my Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra review after 2 months. Why do I have two S22 Ultras here? Well, one of these is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 version and the other is the Exynos 2200. I've used each of these for a month now, so hopefully I'll be able to give you more of a unique perspective based on real world usage. So if you've been following me on social media, you'd have seen that I've been posting a lot with the S22 Ultra. And that is because it has been so far my favorite smartphone of 2022. And that's because it ticks off pretty much all of the boxes for me, like I think it will do for most people. Let's initially start off with the design. I do really like the design of the S22 Ultra. And you'll notice that we do have more of a boxier design compared to what we had on the S21 Ultra. Now, if you haven't already noted, the S22 Ultra has now been merged with the Samsung Galaxy Note series. So there's no longer going to be a separate Note device. This is what the Note has now become and evolved into, and that is the reason for this updated design. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I personally do prefer the design of the S21 Ultra last year. I really like that contour cut camera module, as well as the curved edges, which make it a little bit more comfortable to hold. But the S22 Ultra still has a really good design. We've got matte finishes across the board. We've got more color options this year, 4 by default, as well as 3 exclusive colors from Samsung.com. I'll leave a link to those in the description, which will also give you $100 of instant Samsung credit. And it still is really premium. We've got a Gorilla Glass Victus Plus as well as Armor Aluminium. Now, this is supposed to be a little bit more durable compared to the S21 Ultra last year. I'm not somebody who does a drop test, but by using both of these for a month, they've been absolutely fine. Now, we do have these individual camera rings, which might look okay. The only issue with these is that they do collect a lot of dust around the edges, unless you use a case. Now, we still have IP68 water and dust resistant, so if you do get some water over this, that's absolutely fine. And this is quite impressive considering we also do have the S Pen, which we'll talk about a little bit later. What I want to talk about next is one of my favorite things about the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, and that is the display. Now, I know I sound like a bit of a broken record because I say this every year for Samsung flagship devices, but the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra has the best smartphone display in the market right now. Now, Samsung make AMOLED displays for a lot of the competition, including for iPhones, and I have a feeling that they save their best displays for their flagship devices, and this really shows here on the S22 Ultra. It's sharp thanks to its Quad HD Plus resolution. The colors really pop with deep blacks thanks to the dynamic AMOLED technology. And animations are super smooth thanks to the 120Hz LTPO 2.0 technology. Not only that, this is also the brightest display on the market with 1750 nits. And if you're somebody like me who wears sunglasses and uses your smartphone a lot outdoors in sunlight, you're really going to appreciate this. Now, because we have LTPO technology, it means it can go all the way down to around 1 Hz, which is ideal for the always-on display. Always-on displays are something that I absolutely love, and it's great to know that even though we do have this high refresh rate, it's not really going to have a significant impact on the battery. Now, there is still this punch out, so we don't have under-display camera technology as yet. And as we've seen on the Fold 3, yes, that can be done, but it's still not perfect, especially for a flagship device like this. And personally speaking, I really don't mind this punch out. I've kind of got used to it, and it also allows for some wallpapers. If you guys want the Spider Saf wallpaper, I'll leave that link down in the description below. One thing that we do have under the display is the ultrasonic in-display fingerprint scanner. Now, this is the same as what we had last year, so this is the 3D Sonic Gen 2, and it works flawlessly. It's fast, it's accurate. I always advise registering the same fingerprint a couple of times just to make it that much better. And yes, it would have been nice to have Qualcomm's new 3D Sonic Max, which will allow you to use 2 fingers at the same time, which would make things a lot more secure, especially when it comes to banking apps. But nevertheless, the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner is absolutely great on the S22 Ultra. Now, the display is curved on both sides, and this curve is more pronounced compared to what we had on the S21 Ultra. And although this does look good from a design point of view, when it comes to practicality, I do prefer flatter displays like what we've got on the S22 and the S22 Plus. And it's also so much easier to get a screen protector for flatter displays. Nevertheless, the S22 Ultra has an excellent display overall, and I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed with it. Hey, Saf here. Ignore this guy for a second. Look, around 60% of you guys watching are not subscribed. I can see, you know. So if you haven't already, then please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you can see the latest content that we produce. Also, don't forget to smash that like button if you're enjoying the video so far. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Okay, I'll let you guys get back. Okay, so you heard the man. If you haven't already, then maybe consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. That way you'll get to know as soon as I upload a new video. Let's now talk about the cameras. So the S22 Ultra has excellent cameras, some of the best that you're going to find out there. And although on paper they do seem pretty similar to what we had last year, that's not necessarily a bad thing because the S21 Ultra still has great cameras which still do hold up. So we do have a total of 4 cameras as well as a laser autofocus sensor. The ultra-wide camera is one of the best out there. You've got excellent dynamic range, lots of detail, and this also has the ability to refocus, so you can also get some macro shots which look excellent. The primary camera has been improved. We've got lots of detail. It's very sharp. You've also got a detail enhancer mode, which will let you take more detailed images at 108 megapixels if that's something you're into. And we have the best zoom on any smartphone right now. We've got 2 zoom cameras. We've got a 3x optical zoom as well as a 10x optical zoom. Now the 10x optical zoom camera has excellent results, even up to around 30 times. You can go all the way up to 100 times, although I find that's a little bit creepy. And yes, you can take pictures of the moon if that's something that you like to do. Now, one big improvement that we do have on the S22 Ultra is when it comes to portraits. If you remember seeing my S21 Ultra review, you'd have heard me complaining about portraits on the S21 Ultra, and that's because you had the option of taking portraits at 1x and 2x. The issue was that the S21 Ultra did not have a 2x optical zoom camera. So it was actually digitally zooming for that 2x effect, which was very, very soft. Now I know for a fact that Samsung is watching my videos and taking on that feedback because the S21 Ultra did get an update later on in the year, which allowed you to take portraits with that native 3x zoom camera. With the S22 Ultra, Samsung has completely ditched the 2x zoom for the portrait mode, and we have 1x and 3x portraits, which look really good, some of the best that you're going to get out there. So Samsung is using a new AI depth mapping algorithm, which can even isolate individual hairs. And when this hits, oh, it really hits. You can see this example here, where it's actually picked up a single strand of hair on my beard, as well as the little fluffy hair on my ears, which is a bit too much if you ask me. But nevertheless, the edge detection, in my opinion, is the best that you're going to find on any smartphone, and Samsung has completely nailed this when it comes to portrait mode. We've also got a great selfie camera with lots of detail and excellent dynamic range, a really good portrait mode as well. And like before, we do have an option of having natural or bright selfies. Samsung devices traditionally used to make selfies very bright, but now you have this option of just turning on natural selfies, and in my opinion, you get much better results. For video, the S22 Ultra shoots excellent video. I would say some of the best video when it comes to Android. I still think that the iPhone has more options and does shoot overall better video. Now I have done a detailed Super South style camera comparison between the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. If you want to see that, I'll link that in the cards and in the description. We also have some new video modes on the S22 Ultra. There is auto framing, which will track you. This is something that I didn't really find myself using over the last couple of months. And we also have an improved portrait video mode, which does actually a pretty good job overall of isolating you from the background. But again, this is something that's at 1080p. And although it's okay, it's not something that I found myself using much. Now there is 8K video, but this hasn't really progressed over the past couple of years. It's pretty much the same as what we've had previously. Yes, you can shoot at 8K, but this is capped to just 24 frames a second. And although that is the correct frame rate, I'd like to have options. Also, there's no consistency because you can shoot 24 frames a second with 8K, but you can't shoot at 24 frames a second at any other resolution. 8K still crops in quite significantly, which means that you have to stand really far back. And also there isn't much stabilization, so you can't really use it handheld. You'd only be able to use it on a tripod. So yeah, I really think Samsung needs to improve 8K video recording because it really hasn't changed. Now, another thing that we do need to touch on when it comes to the cameras are the differences between the Qualcomm version and the Exynos version. Now, you might be wondering, why would there be any differences? Well, the thing is, these chips come with their own image signal processors, which means that when the images are captured, they are processed slightly differently. Now, generally speaking, images are pretty much neck and neck, and the software does make them pretty similar. However, I did notice a few differences when it came to portraits. I found that skin tones were a little bit more vibrant on the Exynos version compared to the Qualcomm version. And in certain cases, I also found that the Exynos version had slightly better dynamic range. Check out this example. My forehead is much better exposed on the Exynos version compared to the Qualcomm version. However, there were certain situations where the Qualcomm version performed better compared to the Exynos version. Take a look at this example on this selfie. The portrait mode has worked better on the Qualcomm version, and it's given a much better cutout compared to the Exynos version. Now, I'm pleased to say, generally speaking, overall, the cameras are quite similar. I am still not happy that they're not completely consistent and we do have these differences, but you're only going to notice these differences if you are comparing them side by side like I have done. How about performance and differences? Well, you'll be pleased to know that generally speaking, the S22 Ultra, whether you get the Qualcomm version or the Exynos version, performs really well in your day-to-day, and I've really not had any issues whatsoever. But if you are somebody who games a lot, and if you do want to go into the specific details, then I would say that the Qualcomm version gets the edge. Now, I'm not somebody who games too much, but my friends Thunder E from Board at Work and Tom the Tech Chap are, and they've actually done detailed performance tests, including looking at things like heating and frame rates. I'll leave their videos linked down in the description. But overall, although CPU performance is pretty similar, the Qualcomm Snapdragon version does get the slight edge when it comes to GPU performance. And more importantly, it seems like the Qualcomm Snapdragon version is more optimized for games compared to the Exynos version. Now, this makes a lot of sense because the Qualcomm 8 Gen 1 is going to be on many more devices. So as a game developer, you're obviously going to optimize your games for the version that's going to be used on many devices rather than one that's going to be used on a few devices. So for example, on PUBG, right now you can get up to 60 frames a second on the Qualcomm version, whereas you can only get 30 frames a second on the Exynos version. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't really game, then this probably isn't going to make much of a difference to you, but just something to keep in mind. Now, if you are somebody who really wants the Qualcomm version and wants to import it in, then do keep in mind that some 5G bands may not be supported because there are different bands in the US compared to the UK. So for example, my Qualcomm version here in the UK on Vodafone does not get 5G. If despite that, you really want the Qualcomm version, then I will leave some links down in the description below. On Amazon, it actually does calculate the imports and duty fees and things, so that might be quite useful. Now, another thing that the differences in chipsets usually affect is battery life. However, I'm pleased to say that after extensive testing and using these both for a month each, battery life has been very good in both and also very similar. I'm getting roughly between 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, which for me is really good because I am a heavy user. Remember, screen on time does vary from person to person depending on your usage. However, as you probably already know, the S22 Ultra does not come with a charger included out of the box. This is something you're going to have to buy separately if you do not already have one. The S22 Ultra does support either 25 or 45 watt charging, which is faster. However, from all the tests that I've seen, it's not significantly faster. You're going to get a slight improvement. So personally speaking, I would say if you are going to buy a charger, just get the £20 or $20 25 watt charger. It's really not worth spending the £25 or $30 extra on the 45 watt charger, in my opinion. I would say instead use that money to buy a nice wireless charger, which will cost you around that much. I'll try to leave some links down in the description below. And although the charging speed is at 15 watts, so it's not crazy fast, it's still really convenient. Personally speaking, I just drop my S22 Ultra on my wireless charger when I go to sleep, and I wake up to it fully charged. Reverse wireless charging is also supported like it has been on previous generations. This is where you can use the S22 Ultra to charge some things like earbuds on the back of them. I really don't find myself using this. I used to use it sometimes when I used to be traveling, but now I'm not really traveling as much anymore. So I've only used this for this B-roll shot that you can see on screen. Now, one thing that is impressive about the battery is the fact that it's still the same size as the S21 Ultra that we had last year, despite the fact that the S22 Ultra has an S Pen enclosed. Now, traditionally, Note devices would have a slightly smaller battery because they'd need space for the S Pen, but Samsung has managed to fit in the same size battery without increasing the weight too much. And that brings us on to the S Pen. Now, I'm somebody who really appreciates the S Pen, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't use it every day. I probably use it maybe once or twice a week. But when I do use it, I'm so glad it's there. Whether that be to sign a quick document or to just edit an image, the precision that you get with the S Pen is unmatched. And yes, you have lots of different features like Air Command and where you can use this as a remote trigger for your camera. Some things which you may or may not use, but just that convenience of having such a precise S Pen with 2.8 milliseconds of latency, which feels so smooth. The S Pen for me is a great addition. And if you're somebody who doesn't really use it, maybe use it once a month, it's not really coming in the way because it's tucked away inside the device and it's not really giving you any compromises either. Now, when it comes to the speakers, we have excellent stereo speakers on the S22 Ultra. We've got one in the earpiece and one bottom firing. They sound really good. However, I do have a slight problem with the positioning of the speaker. So the speaker position is now on the left-hand side rather than being on the right-hand side like we had on the S21 Ultra. Now that might not seem like a big deal, but it is on the opposite side of the cameras. What that means is when I'm gaming, obviously I don't want my hands touching the cameras. I usually game like this, so the cameras are on this side. But what that means is that I end up covering the speaker with my hand. Now, when it was on the opposite side on the S21 Ultra, that wasn't an issue because it would never be covered. But now I do find myself covering it. And I know a lot of people are gonna say you just use headphones when you're gaming, and that's absolutely fine. I'm talking about personal experience, especially when I'm at home alone. And why do I wanna put headphones on? I just use the speakers and then I end up covering them. So I would have liked to have had the position on the opposite side. That's just something that might be minor for a lot of people, but something that I do need to mention. Now for software, we do have One UI, which personally speaking is my favorite skin on Android. It allows for great one-handed usage. You've got lots of different customizations, and Samsung has been great with updates. I've already had multiple software updates on my S22 Ultras, and Samsung will also be supporting software updates longer than most other manufacturers, which is a big plus. Finally, storage and pricing. So this does start at the same price that the S21 Ultra did last year, although you will be paying more for the larger storage versions. Starts with a base of 128 gigabytes. Personally speaking, I would go for the 256 gigabyte option because this cannot be expanded. We do not have a micro SD card slot. We didn't have one on the S21 Ultra, so this really wasn't a surprise. The S22 Ultra does go all the way up to 1 terabyte, however, so if you are somebody who uses a lot of storage, that option is there for you if you'd like. Now, if you are interested in picking up the S22 Ultra, you can get $100 of instant Samsung credit using my special affiliate link in the description. And you can also get some pretty good trading deals. And that is the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. If you've made it this far in this video, I just want to say thank you. I love you. Virtual hug. I really appreciate you sticking around. To conclude, as mentioned at the start of this video, this is my favorite smartphone of the year so far, and I can easily recommend it. I think it ticks a lot of boxes for a lot of people. If you are somebody who's not really into the Note vibe and the S Pen, then you can go for the S22 Plus, which is also an excellent smartphone, or you could even go for the S21 Ultra from last year, which still holds up and is going to be available for less compared to the S22 Ultra. I have done a detailed hands-on comparison of the S21 Ultra versus the S22 Ultra. That's going to be linked here. If you're interested to see what the cameras are actually like compared to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, I've also done a detailed Super SAF style camera comparison, which I'll link over here. What do you guys think of the S22 Ultra? Are you going to be getting it? Do drop me a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do smash that like button for me. And if you haven't already, then do make Side SAF today by subscribing and hit that bell icon. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super SAF TV, and I'll see you next time.